haven't been this excited about a smart home upgrade in a long time. Let me show you what's in this box. So these are what I think are one of the most important upgrades that you can put in any smart home, and that's smart blinds. These are Ulax's new wireless smart blinds. At first glance, they look super clean. They come in a whole bunch of different styles and colors, but I went with this minimal white and gray to match my place. I'm gonna quickly get my current blinds uninstalled and put these ones up. Wish me luck. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse, but these were so easy to install. All you need is a screwdriver, some screws, and they clip right into place. They took literally 15 minutes to install. They look super clean, and best off, check this out. Hey Siri, close the blinds. Isn't that just the coolest thing? These are by far the fastest and most quiet smart blinds I've ever used. I'm not even sure if you guys will be able to hear them on here. And because there's no cables or cords or anything, they just look so clean. Not only do they have the smart home control, but they also come with this remote. Honestly, just this remote alone, never mind all the smart home functionality, makes these blinds worth it, but being able to control them with your voice and automations makes it so much cooler. For the smart home function, there's two different versions. There's the wireless version I have here, which recharges via USB-C and comes with a long cable so you can charge it anywhere. The wireless version is Zigbee only though, which means it's gonna work natively with Amazon Alexa, but to use it with HomeKit like I'm using, you're gonna need a much more complicated setup. But they do have a wired version that plugs into the wall for HomeKit that works natively out of the box. And while it's cool enough being able to talk to them using your smart home, the real power comes in when you're using automations. One of my favorite smart blind automations is just having them open and close when the sun rises and sets. Make sure you never have to touch the blinds or worry about them. And then there's even more complex ones that you could do. Like using your smart thermostat to close the blind when it's too hot inside on a hot summer day to let less sunlight in. Or one of my favorites where I use the moisture sensor in my shower to automatically close the blinds so after I could walk around my house in just a towel. You could also command them in more unique ways in saying things like, hey Siri, open the right blind 10%. Controlling only individual blinds and opening it up only certain amounts. Anyway, couldn't be more happy with these things. These are by far the best smart blinds I've ever used. They're quiet, they work well, they come in a lot of colors, and they're super easy to install. Like it literally takes 15 minutes. And the best part is they're actually pretty affordable. So you buy them right on Amazon. I'll have a link to them in my bio. They're around 180 bucks a blind, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what size you go for. And you hit this customize now button and it's super simple. You literally enter all the dimensions in of your window. You select your colors, you select your trims and everything, and you're done. They ship it right to your door, fully custom, ready to install. Anyway, these things are awesome. For full disclosure, Ulax did send me these blinds, but they didn't have any weight on this review or this video or anything. I'm super bummed I haven't discovered these things earlier because these are so much better than any of those smart blinds I've ever used. Even if you're not using them for the smart functionality, at 180 bucks per blind, it's cheaper than some regular blinds. Never mind the fact that you get a fully wireless remote and you control them with the remote, and then you have the option to lay in your smart home technology later on. These are super cool. Check out my link in my bio if you're interested in purchasing for yourself. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you. Let's talk about these things. NFC tags. They're these super cheap little stickers with a little tiny microchip on them that can be used to automate all sorts of things. I personally use them to automate things like my door lock, my blinds, my laundry machine, and even my lights. So we've been talking about these things a lot recently when using them for home automation, so I thought we'd do a really deep dive into them and show you guys exactly how they work. So the first thing you need to know is NFC is absolutely everywhere. It's not just these little tags, it's really common in cards. Anywhere where you tap a card, like your credit card or a gym membership, that's using NFC. In fact, it's so common that I'm gonna be getting one of these NFC tags implanted in my skin to utilize it for all these different use cases. So let's talk about how these things work, because it's actually really cool. If you look on the back of them, there's actually a little coil on the back of the tag. That coil is used in the similar way that a wireless charging coil is used to power up the tag and scan the tiny little microchip on it. This means that NFC tags require 0 battery life and they'll never deteriorate because it uses the power from the scanning device, in this case your cell phone, to power on the tag and scan the little chip and read the data from it. So there are two different ways that we could utilize this chip on the NFC tag, and this is all very important in the world of smart home, so if you're curious about these things, make sure you follow along closely. So the first way is every single NFC tag has a unique code, or think of it as a serial number tied to it. Very similar in the way that a barcode has a set value that when you scan, it always outputs that value. We could use that serial number to program certain things to happen on a device when that device reads the serial number. So say the number on this tag is 55, I could program on my cell phone to say when I see the NFC tag number 55, execute this set of actions, do all these smart home things. This is a really great way to program complex things like smart home automations because you're not actually having to write anything complicated to the tag. All you're doing is telling your phone to do something when it sees the tag's number. The disadvantage to this, however, is it will only work on your phone. It has to be programmed onto your phone to execute commands when they see the tag number is 55. If any other phone scans it, it just says, I see the number 55, what do I do with this? This can be seen as a security advantage, however, if you're doing something that's sensitive and you don't want other people to be able to scan the tag and say, unlock your door. This is exactly how Apple's automations work when you set them up through Siri shortcuts. It's one of the reasons why Apple is a little bit easier to set up than Android with these tags. The downside, though, is they'll only work on your phone. So if you have a whole household, you need to program the NFC automation on each individual person's phone. The second way NFC tags work is these things actually have internal storage in the chip here that you could write data directly to and read it from another phone or device. There's a few different types of tags that have different levels of storage and encryption, but usually you have enough to store a few hundred characters of text, whether you want that to be a URL, contact info, or maybe an address. So even though you can only store a small amount of data, any modern phone or reader device will be able to read that data and ingest it. If you write a website to this, for example, any phone can scan it without having anything pre-programmed. Or if you want to share your contact details, just write it to this tag. Again, anybody could scan it and they'll be able to ingest it right away. The shortfall, though, is in things like smart home automation where we want to do long, complicated things. There's simply not enough capacity in this tag to store the type of commands that we be needing to send to the smart home. Never mind the fact that we wouldn't want anybody to just be able to scan this tag and control your home. So there are a few workarounds to get it to work with Android and other platforms. But in general, usually using things like iOS where you're scanning the tag itself, just reading the barcode and running the code locally is a safer way to use it in cases like smart home. But it's important to keep in mind there are two different ways to utilize the storage on these tags. Now, NFC isn't the only technology that works in this way. RFID came before it, and it's pretty much a much younger version of NFC that only has the ID tied to it with no storage on the inside. RFID is still used all the time in lots of different access systems, as well as on other similar key cards, similar to gym passes and things like that. If you have a card or a device that you tap and you want to know whether or not it's NFC or RFID, you could actually download an NFC reader app for your phone and tap the card to the back of your phone. If it reads, it's NFC. If it doesn't read, it's very likely it's RFID. Reading and writing simple things like URLs to NFC tags is pretty simple, but modern NFC actually has some pretty crazy security looped into it, and that's where this thing comes in. This is called a Proxmark 3. It's an NFC and RFID hacking tool. I'm going to be learning to use this extensively over the next few weeks, and I'll be making lots of videos on it. This is mostly leading up to the chip implant that I'm going to be getting in my hand at the end of the month here. We're going to learn all about this thing, how to hack NFC and RFID, how to read and write it, and how to copy it. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Anyway, that's NFC 101. I wanted to make sure everybody's in the loop with exactly on how these things work because I'm going to be making a ton of videos on them in the next few weeks here. Feel free to toss me a comment here if you have any questions at all, and toss me a follow if you're not already. I make lots of other smart home and fun little content like this, and I'd be happy to have you following along. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all of you.